welcome. And a sad thing to do first. Before we start our business, I'd ask you all to observe a minute's silence for Greg Crocker, who was chair of this council and served it for a long time. So if we can do that. Thank you. Public question time. We haven't got any members of the public, have we? So there we go. And we move on then to the annual procedures.
Did you
I'll do a very brief report. I'm not going to, because I did a report at the annual council meeting, I'll just very briefly reiterate pretty much what I said there. I'm very pleased with, I'm very proud of the work that we've done this year as a council and the amount of work. I think we've done more work than we have since I've been a councillor for 6 years. And I think Tom said we've done more than we have since he's been a councillor for a lot more than 6 years. More like about 46 years. He is, of course, you didn't know Tom is actually 87. We've done a lot of work. We've created a lot of working groups. And we've moved from doing rather than talking and making things happen. Some of the working groups, things do take a while to gestate and get polished and get agreed, but they're coming through. Lots of initiatives have come through, lots more are coming through, and I think we serve the community better than we have that I've been aware of, and I'm very proud of us for that. You know, so if we did nothing else, that's it. I'm pleased, I've enjoyed my year as chair. It's been good to meet people from other parish and town councils, and it's been particularly good because they have mostly been quite impressed by what we managed to do and what we're able to do and all those things. And in particular, Denby Dale, I know we'll be contacting you. We had a member from Denby Dale to a working party meeting quite separately from us, but I recently met with the Denby Dale chair, and they were really interested in the things, and they were saying, oh, you can do that, and oh, you've got that, and how did you do it, you know, and so I said, well, you need to talk to Jen, you need your clerk to talk to our clerk for a start. And at one point he did say, well, I don't think whatever it was I said, he said, I don't think our clerk would like that. And I looked at him and he said, I suppose that might be tail wagging dog. I said, I think so. So it's been quite reassuring to find out that we're probably doing a bit more than most of our nearby councils are for the community again. So that's very satisfying. So I think it's been a good year. I mean, we've had our first, since the annual meeting, our first kind of proper problem with the Civic Hall, and we've got things in plan, and that's going to be sorted. We dealt with it. It's the first time they've had a problem in quite a long time, so that was good news. I mean, it wasn't good news, but you know what I mean. It's in hand, and it can be managed. So I think, all in all, we're in a good position. We're a good council, working hard for the community and doing good stuff. So I'm very pleased with it. I'll say to thank yous for the bit where I have to reply to somebody later on. But before I know the formal thank yous, but thank every single councillor. Separate from the clerking team, every councillor has really done a lot of work and played a big part, and thank every single one of you for making it a really good council. So, on that happy note, I'll hand over to somebody else. We go through the procedural matters, and the first one is the installation of chair. And I think I lead the proposals and secondings and votings, and then we put the jewellery on the new person. So can I ask for nominations to be chair of the council? Councillor Lawrence.
Can I nominate Laura Belton, please?
Right,
Because
do we
she's
have a
been
seconder
vice
for
chair
that?
and chair.
Do we have a seconder for that? Donald? Do I take other nominations? I do, don't I? I take all the nominations. Do we have any other nominations for chair? Tom?
Yeah, could I nominate Councillor Kirby, please?
Right, do we have a seconder for Councillor Kirby? Lawrence, thank you. So do we do a straight show of hands for one? Are there any other nominations? Sorry. Right, so straight show of hands. Okay, we'll do a straight show of hands, and I'll do them in alphabetical order. So Donna will be first. So all those who want to vote for Donna Bellamy to be chair of the council, please raise your hand now. All those against? Oh no, we don't have to do that, do we? All those in favour of Councillor Glenn Kirby being chair of the council, please raise your hand now. So that is 12 to 4. So Glenn, abstain.
Can I just raise an issue? I've just heard the member opposite giggling about it's a joke. I find that slightly...
Are you stirring it up, councillor? Because if you've got to stir it, I can stir it as well.
Right. If people are being rude and being silly and taking the mickey out of this procedure, just stop. Whoever you are, and you as well, Donald. Anybody who's messing about with the procedure and treating it with disrespect, I would ask you to stop now. We'll move on. We have just elected Councillor Kirby to be chair of this parish, and I'm really... So if you can come up, you get your necklace. It would be a bit crooked, let's not have afterwards. Oh, do we shake hands?
We can take hands. Look at this way. Lovely. Come that way. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Right, so you stay here and I'll go in your seat. Oh, my hand back.
Oh yeah, you don't hold that.
Don't forget your sign, Pat.
Oh. Thank you.
Really wants your job, don't want your name. Rich, can you get a declaration of office book? Thank you. Apologies, everyone. I've forgotten that. Yeah, so the newly elected chair takes the chair and returns thanks for his election.
Thank you for my election.
And thanks to retiring chair.
Many thanks to Councillor Pat Collins for a wonderful job over the last 12 months.
And if I reply, my replies are the formal thanks. Obviously, every councillor has made what I was doing possible, but the clerical team as well, without whom we'd probably collapse completely. And they've been supportive and informative and friends, I like to think. So thank you to all of you.
So moving on, installation of vice chair. So elect a vice chair for the remainder of the council year. Have we got any nominations?
I nominate Councillor Bailey, please.
Have we got a second? Any other nominations? Can I ask for a show of hands then? All those in favour of Councillor Bailey being vice chair for the next year?
I think it's unanimous.
I think it's unanimous.
Yep.
Yeah, I will. Not sure if you're experienced. Congratulations.
There we go.
Is this one?
I'm aboard.
So a bit of charge.
So the newly elected chair, vice chair to return thanks for his election.
Thanks for my election. You were expecting that. No, thank you very much. It's a great honour. Thank you.
And to thank the retiring vice chair as well.
And thanks to Tom, who does a sterling job. Obviously, you know, as vice chair and in many other roles. And thank you. Thanks.
Recording of the meeting, as usual, the parish council is making a recording of the meeting. Is there anybody else who would like to make an individual recording? No? Okay. Have we any items to be heard in private session?
I've none to advise to be heard in private session.
And apologies and reason for absence.
So, people received an email earlier today regarding the apologies and reasons from Councillor Wilson, Councillor Bellamy and Councillor Brooke. I've also received verbal apologies and reasons from Councillor Fenwick that I've not been able to distribute as yet.
Okay, thank you.
So you need to take a vote.
All those in favour of those absences? Okay. Receipt of written declaration of pecuniary and other interests.
So we wouldn't really normally receive any now, because obviously one of the later items is that you're all going to be asked to update your written declaration of pecuniary and other interests, and because of that I have put blank forms around for everyone, but of course some of you may prefer to do it online, not online, but do it using your word processor and then email it to me. So I will send out the DPI with our new branding logo on it tomorrow as well, if people want to do it that way.
Thank you, Tim.
So can I raise a point of clarification? The term pecuniary interest, could I ask the clerk, I've spoken to the clerk about this, I would like a more accurate definition of pecuniary, in that I hold a share in Eco Homes, which gives me no income, I cannot sell, I have to return it to Eco Homes. And because I laid out money, I have to declare under the current rules a pecuniary interest. But if I join a pressure group against something that is happening in my backyard, because I perceive that I may have a loss of value of an asset, I don't have to declare a pecuniary interest. And I fail to see the difference between the two.
So what I would say straight away to that is that the definitions are all, of course, in the Code of Conduct and so forth. I would want to seek clarification from YRCA if you want anything further than what we've already got in the Code of Conduct about what pecuniary interests are.
Yes, please.
Councillor Wells?
I'm not being facetious, I don't understand what you mean. I thought pecuniary interests were any interests, whether you mandatory put in or whether you were invested in it on a so like for
They're not. Pecuniary is financial, personal is the other stuff.
It's pecuniary and other interests. So
you have to declare everything.
yeah, but an other interest has potential to be treated differently to pecuniary interest. So
we do that.
You don't have to.
I think that's what we're looking for further clarification for. We're not sure anymore what we should be doing about that, I think.
I thought the training that everybody had was like, if you're like for example, I declared that my son played for Hedgewood Football Club, right, and they come to us for a grant. I don't get any money off them, I just pay a sub, right, so I just pay them a sub. And I don't even go there because my child plays somewhere in this field or top end of Halifax. Never even see Clubhouse from beginning of season to end of season. But my son plays for them and I pay for the kit every quarter. So I had to declare it, and when they came for a grant I couldn't discuss it. And I thought that's what everybody was, the same rules, whether it was, you know, everything. You know, if I'm interested, if I'm invested in the tech and I'm doing stuff here and I run a club here or I go to a ballet class, that's never got any yet, then because I pay money to the tech I couldn't be invested in the tech, in anything that the tech was asking for. I thought it was quite simple.
Yeah.
it was gone over in quite considerable detail at the whole council training that happened. And what I can do is resend the notes out. I think we've got the PowerPoint, so I'm happy to resend the notes out regarding that. But you know, I'm also happy if council so chooses to seek further clarification from the YRCA.
Yes, because that wasn't what she said at the training, and I think that's what set this on.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Declaration of interest in agenda items. Anybody got any declaration of interest? Councillor Whitelaw?
Yeah, in item 252617, which is the application, I believe it's on page 5 at the bottom there, it's the application from Home Firth Forward to consider a grant. And I'm declaring an interest, if you like, in that I am a director on Valley's Anchor, the CIC, local CIC, which has given a grant to the Pride organisation, the organisation of Pride, which is what this grant is concerned with. And I'm also the secretary for the Valley South Labour Party, who've also made a donation. So that is my interest, if you like, although it's not pecuniary, obviously. But I would like to, I don't know whether this is the point at which I should ask for dispensation from council, because I would like to speak to that motion, that application, and I would like to be able to vote on it as well. And that's in the gift of the council, apparently, as I understand it. So please correct me if I'm wrong.
So dispensations are normally written, and that is a later item. In terms of what you are requesting, that certainly can be put to council as a proposal. What I would say is, I think you should treat as two separate issues whether or not you're going to give permission to speak and permission to vote.
Fine by me.
And we'll do it at the time of the agenda item. Yeah. Or you up to do it now?
Can I declare an interest in the same item as the director of Home Firth Forward?
Anybody else? Councillor White?
I'm not declaring an interest. All I'm saying is that I don't know why we're discussing this on the agenda, because it's not an emergency grant like the civic not being able to pay the wages or the food bank not being able to feed the kids. I also don't agree with the Labour Council's been able to vote on it, because it is a conflict of interest, and that is what we've just been discussing. And everybody, no normal councillor, if it comes to finance committee, would be able to vote on that, because they're the rules within the finance committee. If you are invested in a project, Eco Homes, the Tech, or any other of the groups that are asking for the money, you shouldn't be able to vote, because that is a conflict of interest, and it's quite basic.
Councillor White?
Right, so, the first point is that I'd like clarification on why you think this is a Labour Party interest.
Because it says it in the messages that I've seen on Facebook.
No.
It says on Facebook.
It is not a Labour Party initiative. It has been supported by the local Home Valley South Labour group. But
It's
it
a
is,
Labour initiative,
could I
isn't
finish,
it?
please? I'm quite clear here that what has happened is that a group of Home Firth Forward and Home Firth Business Together, 70 odd businesses have supported this initiative, and Home Valley South, as a local organisation, Labour Party, decided it was an initiative that we thought was very well worth supporting for the community, particularly in the light of the homophobic attack that had taken place. And the second thing was, that was exactly the same view that that Valley's Anchor took, that we should be supporting this as a community initiative. It has actually got nothing to do with party politics.
Councillor Riley?
Can I confirm that it was the business community that brought about this initiative, and then other groups have then agreed to put in some extra money to it. But it is the business community that are running this.
Councillor Firth?
It's a great pity nobody's taking any interest in what's going on in Holme Firth. As a small council, we don't appear to be taking any interest at all. Another 3 shops have closed. We shall finish up with no shops at all in a bit. It's time somebody got together to get something sorted out, because they're not doing it at Kirklees. All that lot is supposed to be doing Holme Firth, and now down at Lockwood Bar for 57 weeks, making a mess down there. You know, we're just up to here with everything, and we're just discussing things that, you know, this gentleman here has just got upset with me because something I've said. Well, as far as I'm concerned, it was not said particularly in nastiness. It was just said, and if there's anything I detest, it's tittle-tattlers, tale-tellers. I can't be doing with them. But the thing is, I would like this council...
Councillor Firth, please. I understand your concerns about Home Firth, I do, but this agenda item is what we're trying to sort at the moment.
Well, it's all part and parcel, isn't it?
I just wish to reply. So the situation is that the Home Firth business community might have organised this event. Not saying we're against the event. The rules are the rules, so that is all I'm saying. I'm not saying that if you don't vote, the vote won't go through. All I'm saying is that the rules are the rules, and that is it. We're not against an event.
Okay.
At the end of the day, it's irrelevant.
Thank you,
The process is
Councillor.
a process.
Okay. Has anybody got anything that they think is relevant to this to say? Because I would like to call for a vote first on whether or not Councillor Whitelaw is allowed to speak on the matter, and then a second vote on whether or not Councillor Whitelaw is allowed to vote. Is that fair? Right. Can I ask for show of hands for those who think Councillor Whitelaw is allowed to speak on the matter that we've been discussing? Thank you.
14 or 15? Thank you.
And then the same vote for those who think Councillor Whitelaw should be allowed to vote on the matter.
Could I ask you to reconfirm what you said before about the interest you had in this?
You want to repeat what I said?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So the first item is that I'm a director of Valley's Anchor, and Valley's Anchor, the organisation, we four directors decided that this was an initiative that we wanted to use some of our money for.
Right.
Right? So we made a grant. The second thing was that the same proposal, if you like, was put to Home Valley South Labour Party about whether they would like to support it with some of their finances, and they too agreed that they would like to do that. And I'm the secretary, as well as a member.
Right. Okay.
Chair, before you move on, we didn't do against and abstentions on the vote on the two whether, and we need to.
Sorry, was there anybody against Councillor Whitelaw being allowed to speak, to vote? Sorry. Speak. No? And any abstentions? And the same question then on whether Councillor Whitelaw should be allowed to vote on the matter.
Because you can vote,
Are you in favour of a voting?
council, what you're voting. Same like that. You keep your hands up, though, Jen's still counting.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Get it done.
And those against?
4.
And any abstentions?
4.
Chair.
Yes.
When we did have that meeting with YMCA people about the community interests and things like that, I think they did advise something like, if you're not sure about this, and then to use your own discretion and probably not to vote on it and to do that. So that's what I mean. I think with this, if I was in the opposition, Sarah, I probably wouldn't be voting on it just in case, just to cover yourself and not to get in trouble and things like that.
Well, that's your decision, Tom.
Yeah, that is
It's
yeah.
not mine.
So that would be my advice, but like I think that's kind of like from what they've said before. But yeah, I appreciate that you go your way. I don't know if it's something that you really be voting on as a council, whether someone's got an interest or to do that really. I feel a bit uncomfortable about this.
Yes.
Although I've got no issue about the actual event.
This is a vote on an item about a grant.
Yeah.
Mm.
Councillor Ransby.
Just a clarification, I will not be speaking on this matter or voting because of my position with Holme Forward.
Can I just speak? As your clerk, what I would say is, Sarah's declared an interest, and you asked for a dispensation, and you've now decided that you're giving that. Out of that has also come the fact that it's not just the Home Valleys Anchor, but it's Home Valley South Labour. So all of you Labour members also need to, it's your decision whether you declare an interest or not. And I think what Councillor Lowles is getting at is whether or not the fact that you, in a different role in a different organisation, have agreed to support something, is that an interest? I don't know the answer to that. I don't know how I would answer it, but
I haven't getting a peculiar interest out of it. And to take this as a hard line would discourage me from supporting or putting forward any initiative to the council where I had a remote interest. I think the training we had said it's actually down to your own conscience supporting it, and it was your own decision.
Very much.
Based on that information, every Labour councillor needs to declare an interest. What I am saying to you is that I am not against the event or the grant. The point is that you have to learn to declare the interest, and there clearly is a grey area where yes, but all of Holme Valley South Labour have donated to this charity there. No, that is what we have been told. That is what's on the text message, and that is why I'm upset with you. Text message. It doesn't matter what text message it is. I've supplied
I think it matters very much when you're following on that as evidence. So can you be quite clear, please, about what you're referring to?
Can I please ask everybody to just keep quiet on this point, please? We've had a vote. Whether or not people agree or not agree with that vote, we've had a vote. Councillor Whitelaw has raised an interest, and we voted on whether or not she should be allowed to speak or vote on that interest. So can we move on, please? Because the next one's going to be even more interesting. Yes, Councillor Stewart.
Can I declare an interest in that I'm the stepmother of Councillor Moses Cook?
Okay. Standing committees for 2025 to 26.
Chair.
Oh,
Sorry,
Councillor
I was
Moses.
going to ask if we could move forward item 252611, which is standing orders. Specifically the scheme of Jerry Gators, because I want to put a motion which will affect our discussion on the membership of standing committees.
Okay, all those in favour of allowing that 252611 to be moved forward? All those against? Any abstentions? Abstentions? No? Okay. Okay, we'll move on to 252611 then. The council policies. The council will have to approve re-adoption of the policies described in the attached. Firstly, the checklist of policies, C1 in our pack.
So that just describes the policies, Chair. So the first one to be voted on in terms of re-adopting is standing orders, and then that's followed by scheme of delegation. And I believe that this is what Councillor Blackall wants to speak to.
Yeah, scheme of delegation. Do you wish me to speak about it now?
Yeah, yes, Councillor Blackall.
Right. This is about the membership of standing committees. And we all received an extremely helpful email from the clerk, giving us some options as to how we might deal with this particular issue. And what I want to suggest is that we move on, which was the third of the options put forward.
forward by the clerk. And essentially, what that is increasing the membership of all standing committees to 23, which is the number of councillors, the total number of councillors. It seems to me there are a number of positive reasons for doing this. Obviously, at the moment, the number of expressions of interests for 2 of the committees is in excess of the number on that committee. So if we increase the number on committees to 23, it will then allow everybody who's expressed an interest in joining those committees to join those committees. The second reason, it seems to me, is its simplicity, really. It would be it would mean all committees, all standing committees having the same number of members potentially, which would be 23. Third point is it would avoid the complexity of other means of constituting the committees. And it would also, I think, eliminate any kind of perceived bias or unfairness in the process of the selection for the committees. And for those who are concerned about this, it would exactly replicate the party political balance on the council as a whole. Next point is that obviously it could mean, or will mean to start with, committees with a large membership. But I think there are two arguments in favour of that, or 2 reasons why that is perhaps not a bad thing. The first one is that there is always attrition over the year, and recently the attendance at standing committees has sometimes been not much more than 4-8, so it would address that issue. And the other point in support of that is that given the move of the way the council is working at the moment, we're moving much more towards decisions being made or detailed work and then recommendations really being made in subcommittees and in working groups. So the fact that we have large committees, I think, doesn't mean that large committees would be working on detailed proposals. So I think those are my reasons for going forward the suggestion that we increase the numbers on committees, all committees that is, to 23.
Councillor,
We need
whose
second.
hand went up first?
Second.
Oh, sorry, we've got seconds for that proposal.
I'll second it.
You'll second it.
So I think Councillor Green.
Councillor Green
has
was in
hand up
first.
Can I just say I would want to propose an amendment to that motion, but I'll do it when you think it's appropriate.
Councillor Green.
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic proposal. I would support it. My only concern is planning and the quorum. If it was 23 members.
Can I just explain that you've only there's no committee that has had 23 people put themselves forward. So what you're doing is changing policy to allow up to 23.
And is that something we can do, okay?
That is absolutely something that you can do.
Councillor Bailey, sorry, Councillor Whitelaw.
And I just wanted to speak in favour, really, on the grounds of democracy. Really, that if you give everybody the opportunity to take part in the decision making and the discussion, then that's no bad thing as far as I'm concerned. And we should be so lucky that we get 23 people turning up to committee meetings.
Councillor Bailey, you had a slight amendment.
Yeah, I wanted to move an amendment. I completely agree with the principle of this, seeing greater fairness, greater opportunity for everyone to join perhaps at least 2 committees. But I think there is a downside in terms of having up to 23 people. And I think the downside is that if you're going to make it up to 23, then you have to assume there could be 23. And I have to say that I think if we make it up to 23, everyone will put their name forward at some point. because why wouldn't you? So I think by this time next year we will have perhaps 23 on most, on all, or most of the named members on most or all of the committees. And my concern is that if we have 23 people at a committee meeting, this will undermine the quality of the debate. I think that committees work very effectively and feed in well then to full council, where ultimately most of the major decisions are taken. So I'm concerned about that. I am concerned, picking up on what Councillor Green just mentioned, I'm concerned about the quorum. So if we have 23, then you're working to, I think it's 7, 7 or 8, okay? So you're working to a quorum of 8, and that can be, it could be a problem. I think that if there are large committees, not everyone will get a chance to speak as much as they would like and to make those contributions. And I also question how things would work in relation to the full council then discuss. If you have the same 23 people on a committee discussing an item and then it goes to full council, the same 23 people would then be discussing it full council. So I'm worried about that, and my amendment therefore would be that it's 18 people. And I can give a rationale for that if you like, but it would be 18.
Councillor Lance.
I just think it's quite, my suggestion was the one where we used it on political parties, but I think Mary's suggestion is quite a good one, because we're not all going to turn up then, so it's fine, because at the current situation, if you're not on the committee, I can't go instead of Damien, Mary can't go instead of you, so that just means we just make sure enough people rock up to the meeting. So I think it covers holidays, it covers issues, it covers party agendas, it covers grants, it covers everything. It'll be a right good bun fight, I think it's worth it.
Councillor Lyle.
Can I ask for a point of information, Jen? I don't really know the answer. So Lawrence referred to the quorum number. Is quorum based on the potential number of people on a committee or the actual number who are on it?
The actual number.
So,
yeah, the actual number. So at the moment, on the revised sheet that I put some copies out for people to look at, you've got 18 people put themselves forward as willing to serve on finance and management. So that would be a quorum of 6. You've got 7 people put themselves forward as willing to serve on planning. So that would be a quorum of 3, which is the least you can have. And for service provision, where you've got 20 people willing to serve, that would be a quorum of 7.
Councillor Davis.
I do apologise.
It's all right.
I must have left my name off time.
You did put his name out.
Nobody's going to refuse you.
I've only done one meeting.
However late the nomination.
Good man.
People can change, you know, particularly where if you put things as, you know, a first, second or third preference, people can still change what they put down here at this meeting.
Right. Okay, so I think let's bring this to the vote.
We need a second for the amendment to vote on the amendment.
Yes.
can I ask them another point of information? So if you get 20 or however many people, it's perfectly possible to withdraw your membership during the year. You don't have to be part of the committee, so you can say, I'm sorry, I can't do this anymore. I thought I could, but actually, I'm out.
Yeah.
So that reduces the membership of the committee.
You can, and also, I mean, it's thoroughly possible for people to be down as substitutes as well. So let's say you could have 18 members and the 3 people who didn't put themselves forward could agree to be substitutes. You could do that.
Councillor Dixon.
I don't think we should have an issue with quorum because it would be quite bad if 13 people out of 20 sent in apologies. And looking at the room tonight, it's not going to happen. It doesn't really happen like that. I do agree with what Councillor Dillon said as well though, about the numbers being on the committee. When I was chairman, 2011, 12, ages ago. But the way we did committees then was we did a committee at full council. So we had a full council with service provision and it had everybody there. But some of the meetings were an absolute nightmare because everyone was wanting to talk and things like that. They went over the time when it was difficult. But I think if we are going to go down that route, that's something that the chairs need to bear in mind. And the councils need to bear in mind as well, so maybe not talk as much as what we are doing, like I'm doing now.
Councillor Lyles.
Can I suggest an amendment to Mary's good idea of 23 on the two main ones and planning goes to 10 because we are looking at removing planning anyway, so going forward there wouldn't be you know, it might not be an issue next year, so then anybody who wishes to be on both committees going forward.
Okay, so we've now got three proposals. We've got one proposal that has been seconded, that's to allow everybody to be on all the committees. We've got Councillor Balin's suggestion of 18, and also Councillor Lyles of 23 on both the large committees and 10 on planning. So quite how we're going to vote on this, I don't know now. Shall we start off by voting on Councillor Blacker? Councillor Blacker had...
No, you've got to do the You've got to do the amendments
first. So I would do Councillor Lyle's amendment, then Councillor Bailey, and then do Mary's.
So, Councillor, is anybody going to second Councillor Lyle's amendment?
Yeah.
Okay. Can I ask for a show of hands then of all those in favour of Councillor Lyle's?
So there's about 23 members on service and finance.
Yeah.
And 10 on planning. So the big planning needs 23 members. And
We won't get, and we won't get more 10.
Show of hands, please, all those in favour of that. Okay. All those against? Okay. And all those abstaining? Okay. Can I ask for a show of, is anybody going to second Councillor Balin's suggestion of 18 on the committees?
Councillor
Firth?
What are you seconding it for?
What? 18?
On each council meeting?
No, I'm on what Lawrence has said. It's more common sense, actually.
Right,
So can I ask for a show of hands on that, please, on the voting on Councillor Balin's updated suggestion? All those against? All those abstaining?
Thanks anyway, Donald.
So finally then, can I, Councillor Blacker's suggestion was seconded by Councillor Colling, I believe. So can we have a show of hands for all those in favour of Councillor Blacker's suggestion? All those against?
Is that what you Can you just raise your hands again so that the clerk can actually get the maths right? 16.
Okay. All those against? All those abstentions? Okay. So that motion then is carried. So can I now continue on council policies?
I would actually break off and go back
Go
to
back. Going back. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so standing committees 25-26. So based on that vote that we've just had, I'd like to take a vote firstly on the membership of the Finance and Management Committee. At the moment you've got a sheet in front of you that nominates, is it 18 nominations? So we're voting on that whole...
We need to vote on it.
Yeah. So all those in favour of those 18 people representing finance and management for the next year?
against it.
All
Because
those,
we've just said we're not.
well, yeah, all those against, and any abstentions, no. Can I also now consider the membership of the planning committee for the names in front of you, plus of course Councillor Davis, who's nominated himself. All those against? Abstentions? And finally, to consider the membership of the Service Provision Committee for the 18 names that were on the list.
20 names.
20 now, okay? All those against? Abstentions? Okay, so those are carried. So, officer holders are to be appointed for the 25-26 council in accordance with standing orders. So we now need to appoint chair and vice chair of the committees, or is that done on the committees?
The vice chairs are usually deferred to the committees.
Is that the same for the chair as well?
No, the chairs are all appointed
No.
by full council here.
Okay.
So the first one is to appoint a chair of the Financial Management Committee. I can tell council that 2 councillors have expressed willingness to serve as chair thus far, and that's Councillor Andy Wilson and Councillor Pat Collin, although it's possible for councillors to express their willingness now as well. But other than that, it's about asking for nominations.
Councillor Lyles.
Can I nominate Andy Wilson? I want to nominate him. I don't want to volunteer for chair of anything, Francis.
I want to know. Because it's value, you'll go anyway.
We've got a second.
Although I do like your finance meetings, to be fair. So
Especially the short one. Especially the short one.
Then have we got a second for Pat? A second? Second.
Okay, so do you want to take these votes in turn?
Okay. So can I ask for a show of hands for all those who think Councillor Wilson should be chair of the Finance and Management Committee for next year? All those against?
You don't need to vote.
No,
against,
you don't.
take another vote.
Okay, so all those in favour of Pat Collin being chair of the Finance and Management Committee for next year?
11.
That's carried.
That's Pat.
Okay, so chair of the Planning Committee.
I nominate Andy Wilson.
I'd like to second that.
Have we got any other nominations?
Can
Councillor Blacker?
I withdraw mine?
I'm going to tell him you did that.
Have we got any other nominations?
Absolutely not. Well done, Andy. Thank you very much.
Can we all vote on Andy Wilson being chair of the Planning Committee?
Don't raise your hand up.
Put your hand up, Donald. Andy Wilson.
Finally then, service provision.
So 2 councillors have expressed their willingness to serve as chair. Councillor Alison Morgan and Councillor Donna Bellamy. So it's time to answer nominations.
Have we got a second for Donna?
Towing party line out tonight.
No. Really? I noticed.
I know you should have come to the dark side.
Nominations for Councillor Morgan. I'm a second.
There's exceptions for you, Mary, always.
So it's take account.
Yeah. So all those in favour of Councillor Bellamy being chair of the Service Provision Committee, please. All those in favour of Councillor Morgan.
Alison.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, Carried.
Well done, chairs, for volunteering.
So staffing committee for 25-26. Staffing committee is comprised of a maximum of 8 members, including chair, vice chair, past chair of council, chair of finance and management, chair of planning, chair of safety provision, and staff performance and development lead, who I believe is Councillor Blacker. Correct?
That is correct, yes. So, and just to say that if a member of the staffing committee is the chair of more than one committee, then that chair's vice chair, once appointed, may deputise for their place on the staffing committee. So that would come to a later meeting for confirmation. So, yes, so you've got Councillor Mary Blacker because she was appointed staff performance and development lead in 2024-25, and where possible, that role is for a minimum of 2 years to ensure continuity. So that's why she needs to remain a member of the staffing committee during that
Can
time.
I ask a question? If as past chair I become chair of staffing, does that mean the vice chair of F&M should attend staffing?
Yes, that would be one thing that you would look at in your first F&M meeting.
Right.
So we've got, as members then of the staffing committee, Councillor Glenn Kirkby, Councillor Lawrence Bailey, Councillor Pat Collin, Councillor Pat Collin on twice in a moment, Councillor Andy Wilson, Councillor Alison Morgan, and Councillor Mary Blacker. So that's the list of people that you are looking to vote on today. So you need someone to put that forward, second it, and then take a vote on it.
The whole list?
Yeah.
I'll move that.
Anybody second it?
Yeah.
Councillor Dixon.
No, we don't.
So can we all vote if we are a vote on the staffing committee for 25-26? Those who agree. Anybody opposed or abstentions?
And then there is also to be appointed the chair of the staffing committee, which is usually the chair of the council in the previous year or a predecessor. So previous chair is Councillor Pat Collin. So you need to consider whether someone wants to propose and then someone second that.
I'll propose it.
Right. Anybody second it?
Anybody?
All those in favour? Anybody against? All abstentions? Carried. So, Councillor Collin will be the chair of the staffing committee for 25-26. Council policies. So we're approving re-adoption of the policies described in the checklist of policies.
And the amendments that you've made earlier in this meeting.
So we're looking for approval for approval of those standing orders, scheme of delegation and financial regulations and code of conduct. Second. All those in favour?
I don't think there are any other actions arising. It's just an action for me as clerk to make the amendments.
And now representatives to outside bodies in 25-26.
So usually the YRCA branch meeting representatives times two with permission to vote are the chair and vice chair of the committee. So that would be yourself, Councillor Kirkby, and your vice chair, Councillor Bailey, if you are prepared to represent.
Yeah.
Do we vote on that?
What we'll do is we, unless there are other nominations put forward, what I suggest is we go through this list and you can vote for the whole list at the end. Yeah, Does that make sense?
It doesn't matter, it's not paid.
92, I think.
Is it? Thank you.
92 on mine.
Brockles Village Trust, last year was Councillor Andrew Fenwick, who obviously is the councillor for Brockles. So I don't know if there are any other nominations. I've not had an expression one way from Councillor Fenwick whether he's happy to continue with that or not. You might want me to ask him after this meeting regarding that, and then, if necessary, I could come back to the next full council meeting if he no longer wishes to do that role.
If he declines, I'm happy to do a stand-in. It's not that far. Call them mates after a cup of tea.
And then you need to consider your two trustees for the Home First Civic Hall Community Trust. Last year this was Councillor Andy Wilson and Councillor Steve Ramsby. I know from what Councillor Wilson had told me in the past that he is happy to continue as trustee.
Yeah, Andy has told me that he wishes to continue.
Can I, am I allowed to suggest that Steve and Andy continue, because there's a lot of change going on and it'll give continuity of service for the trust. Am I allowed to propose that, or am I not allowed to propose it?
It's only Steve's willing to do it.
You do alright, don't you really, to be fair?
Home First Conservation Group was Councillor Lyles. Happy to stand again, Councillor Lyles?
So it's alright, isn't it? Yeah. You can do it if you want, man.
Friends of Holme Library were Councillor Glenn Kirkby and Councillor Pat Collin.
I'm concerned that I'm chair of F&M and it's probably inappropriate for me to be a trustee of Holme Library if I'm chair of F&M. It's not that I'm not willing, but I just don't think it looks good. So I think we should have another trustee for Holme Library. And we have a volunteer.
I will volunteer to be the trustee from the library.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, you are in Holme, aren't you? Makes perfect good sense.
Are we any other volunteers who wish to be considered for Friends of Holme Library?
Do you want to do it, Chris?
Are you standing down as well, Dan?
I wasn't going to.
All right, well now what?
Okay, Curtis Rights of Way for Councillor Chris Green was last year. Happy to continue?
I would, but what I would point out that it's really a planning, it's to do with planning, so if somebody from planning committee wants to go, that might be more appropriate.
How often do you have to go?
I think, well, I've only been once in the last 12 months, but I think I missed one because it was a Monday night and we had either this meeting or another meeting.
So a couple of times a year.
Portal,
Yeah.
Is what to do with farming that? Because it's rights of way, I presume, farming.
It's all about, maintenance of footpaths, whether we're going to continue, like footpaths being diverted. It's kind of an update as to what's going on in the rights of way field.
I'll do that.
Yeah.
Well done.
To tell me which course we're looking at.
We'll get it.
Peak Parishes Forum was Councillor Sarah Whitelaw last year.
Parishes, I'm happy to continue with that, yeah.
Any other nominations? No? So, yeah. And Home Valley Climate Action Partnership.
Well, Chris took that on sometime last year, didn't you, from
I
me?
think I took it on at this meeting last year.
Oh, apologies if I've got that wrong there.
I meant, well, maybe I didn't know. But I might, yeah.
I might get lots of things wrong, so it's surprised me.
So do I, James. Yeah.
Yeah, so I've got councillor Chris Green down for that. Kirklees Place Standards, which is a Home First Centre planning group. I know that councillor Wilson has been attending those and is happy to continue attending those, I believe. And Home First Forward, councillor Steve Ramsby.
As the director, I think it's probably inappropriate that I represent the council, and because subsequent to last year, this time last year, I was approached to be a director, so it's probably best I withdraw.
So you need to, we need a nomination now.
Nomination for Home First Forward.
Not director.
Donald, are you
I
not
do
interested
attend.
in that? I thought that was your big thing.
Well,
Home First Forward.
It's probably not an emotion.
Home First Forward, yeah, destroying it, yeah.
No.
Because I can't be up for what makes
That's
me
causing
wrong.
mischief, that pack.
Yes, yeah, put me on it then. I will certainly stir it up a little bit.
I think Lawrence wants to go.
Oh, does he?
Well, I was saying that I have been attending the meetings. I'm not a director, or I don't hold a particular role with it, but I've been attending just for observation.
I'd like to propose that Lawrence represents the council, and I think you'd be a good fit. If you're attending it at the moment, you might as well do it on the official behalf.
You have to come up with
Is that a serious point?
Like Councillor Berlin, I would like to be there just as an observer, just to see how it works, what they do and how they do it.
Yeah,
Simple as
I
that.
think that's quite possible.
Because there's certain people on that area are always coming looking for money, and I can't understand why. I've already told one of them straight up, as far as I'm concerned, they're getting nothing more. Simple as that.
Anyway, so that's two councillors on that one. That's an
Simple, it's no good just sitting there laughing, because give them money, when the more you give them, the more they'll come for. I've been on long enough to know exactly how people work.
We're in the business of giving money out to the community, Donald, aren't we?
Giving it out to the community and make sure that it gets spent properly.
And this is one of those organisations. Thank you.
Okay, so we've got the nominations for the outside bodies for 25-26.
Yeah, so let me just go through those again so that everyone is crystal clear. So YLCA branch meeting representatives, Councillor Kirkby, Councillor Bailey. Brockholes Village Trust, I'll approach Councillor Andrew Fenwick, but if he does not want to do that, then Councillor Lyles will step in. Home First Civic Hall Community Trust, Councillor Andy Wilson, Councillor Steve Ramsby. Home First Conservation Group, Councillor Joe Lyles. Friends of Bonnie Library, Councillor Glenn Kirkby and Councillor Alison Morgan. Kirklees Rights of Way Forum, Councillor Harry Davis. Peak Park Parishes Forum, Councillor Sarah Whitelaw. Home Valley Climate Action Partnership, Councillor Chris Green. Kirklees Place Standards, Councillor Andy Wilson. And Home First Forward, Councillor Bailey.
Are we not allowed two representatives?
Well, you would have to, at the moment, you've got one down. So if you wanted to have two formal representatives rather than one, you need to take a vote on it.
Can I propose a vote to add them onto the list? Is that? Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone like to second it?
All those in favour? All those against? Any abstentions? Carried. Okay, so then can I ask for a vote on the representatives for the outside bodies for 25-26? All, an approver and a second? Well, yeah. Okay, all those in favour?
Right, yeah, that's carried.
Keen to finish it now.
Okay, so to appoint authorised signatories under the bank mandates.
So it's hand over to Rich.
Yeah, so I suppose these are more important now than they were a couple of years ago. Because we've moved to Unity Trust, it is down to the mandated councillors to actually approve payment, so it's rather more important than it was. After putting the agenda together, I had a rethink about the second point, the HSBC mandates. At the moment, the councillors who are on that bank mandate are Councillor Bailey, Councillor Blacker, Councillor Colling, Councillor Dixon, Councillor Wilson. Is that it? I think so. And my suggestion is that we just keep them as the mandated councillors. So we're due to close the accounts. I went into HSBC on Friday to have my IDs. I need to have my ID checked so that we can close the accounts. And I did that on Friday, so I'm just waiting a communication from HSBC. And then I think probably the only thing the mandated councillors will do is to actually authorise the closure of the account. So I'm going to suggest with the second one that we just continue with the 6 that we've got currently and not change it. With regards to the first one, the Unity Trust Bank, the suggestion is that all the committee chairs as voted today, plus the chair of council, plus the vice chair of council, would be the mandated councillors. And then with regard to the CCLA fund, I've never taken money out of that account. I've never moved money from it. So I'm inclined to think that any two councillors, any two of the chairs or vice chairs would be suitable to be mandated councillors for those accounts. So I would take the first one first and just go on the basis of, the suggestion is that the committee chairs, council chair and council vice chair.
Councillor Whitelaw?
Currently I'm a signatory for Unity Bank because I was chair of case, but now there's not case and there's no chair. So I don't really need to take me off or...
Well, the suggestion is with the HSBC, the suggestion is with the HSBC account that we don't treat that as relevant, that you will continue to be the mandated councillors even though you're not a chair.
Okay.
Just because we're closing the account.
So can I take a vote firstly on the Unity Trust Bank, the suggestion being the committee chair plus council chair and vice chair will be mandated. And
I suppose you perhaps need to ask them all that they're okay to do it.
is everybody okay that happens first? Anybody got anything now? Can I ask for a nomination and a second for that? And all those in favour? Anybody against? No abstentions. Secondly, for the HSBC, a current account and business money manager account to keep the current signatories in place for the next 12 months. Okay, all those in favour? And I guess what we need now is for the CCLA Public Sector Deposit Fund to mandated councillors.
Maybe it should just be chair of council and chair of F for them. Like I say, we've never used it. It's just there in case we do need it. That would be my suggestion.
Are we okay with chair of council and chair of F&M then? To confirm the minutes of the previous parish council meetings, can we approve the minutes of the full council meeting held on the 24th of March 25? Okay. Can we approve the minutes of the extraordinary meeting of the full council held on the 14th of April 2025? Have you got anything that you need to raise?
Yeah, apologies. When I put the agenda together, I completely overlooked adding about national rising. Given that the last meeting was just over a month ago, and there's also been an extraordinary meeting, there are a number of outstanding actions that I am aware of. Ward asset registers, councillor training overview, updating the action plan. They have not been forgotten. I can only say that preparing for this meeting has taken precedence, but they are still on my to-do list and will not come off my to-do list until they are done.
I've got something I should have raised, but I went to the loo. We don't appoint trustees to the Friends of Holme Library. We appoint them to the Holme Library Trust. They're different groups.
Okay.
Charitable trust.
Okay.
So it's just wording.
I didn't know that, so I've learned something new.
Right, so let's go.
Can I just mention we've just approved the minutes of the extraordinary meeting, and one of the things in those minutes are that a meeting was going to be arranged between the parish council and, is the terminology right, the trust of the civic.
Yeah.
Has that been arranged?
It's not been arranged yet, no.
But it will be soon, won't it?
Eventually.
I think it
Yeah.
even says in the thing that it'll be within 4 weeks of that meeting, but you know, so it is.
It's really
I think it should happen.
Yeah.
Okay. Now to approve minutes of standing committee meetings. Firstly, approve the minutes of the Service Revision Committee held on the 24th of February 25. All those in favour? To approve the minutes of the Finance and Management Committee held on the 3rd of March 2025. To approve the minutes of the Climate Action Communications and Engagement Committee held on the 10th of March 2025. The minutes of the Staffing Committee meeting held on the 17th of March 2025. The minutes of the Planning Committee meeting held on the 31st of March 2025, which was approved at the Planning Committee meeting on the 28th of April 2025.
So that's just a note, doesn't it?
Alright, yes. To approve the minutes of the Planning Committee meeting held on the 28th of April 2025. Okay. Standing in my item, the climate emergency.
Yeah, so usually this would be a longer item, but I'm aware that we've got a later item on the agenda looking at the priorities and information from case. So some of the things that perhaps might come up in this agenda item will be discussed as part of that later item. But as always, one of the things the council is expecting itself to do is to always consider how actions and decisions to be taken for all items on an agenda reflect the climate emergency. Yeah, so I don't know if anyone wishes to speak to any.
No, okay. Moving on, the grant application from Holme forward. If everybody's following along, we're on about page 160-ish now. 159, 58, so.
Can I speak
Yes,
to
of course.
first? Thank you, Chair. So just to clarify, this is on the agenda because our policy says that, you know, in emergencies, grants can be considered outside of the normal cycle. This one is time sensitive. I've made the decision as clerk that given that, for example, you considered grant application out of sequence in the past because it was time sensitive in terms of the food bank and the discussion you had about that in your December meeting, this also needed to be placed on the agenda. It is up to you as a council to decide whether or not you wish to consider it and whether or not you're going to move to a motion. As you'll be aware from earlier discussions in this meeting, concerns have been shared with me regarding the origin of this application and possible conflicts of interest.
So first, I guess the vote is, are we going to consider this grant application form?
Yeah, I believe due to the time sensitivity, we want to make an exception with this one.
Thank you. Councillor White.
I've already said my piece really about why I think this is an important project to support. There isn't anything in there in the application, I think, that goes against any of that. For me, this is about supporting community and it being a huge group of people who are affected by, implicated by, etc., etc. And the fact that this large group of local businesses have got behind it, I think is a real reason for us to back the project itself, because it's seen as supporting them too in their actions for the community. So that's why I'm very much in favour of supporting this. And the fact that it's Home Firth Forward, well, they happen to be the organisation who took it forward with the Home Firth business together. It might well have been another organisation. I suppose that's beside the point really, but anyway.
Councillor Allen.
Thank you. I would agree with Councillor Whitehall. In terms of the timing, then it is partly because of the town access scheme and that quite a lot of the business people are struggling, so it's another opportunity for them. Also because of the young man who was attacked in Holme, and thirdly because it needs to sort of fit in with Kirkby's Pride as well. So it is sort of a specific time that it fits in.
Thank you. So can I ask, firstly, are we going to allow the grant application to be considered? So we've got a nominator and a second. Yep. All those in favour? All those against? Any abstentions? Okay, so then we're going to consider the grant application. So having had a look at the grant application, can I ask for a nominator? Is somebody proposing that we pay the grant of £300 that they requested? Okay, Councillor Larker, have we got a second? All those in favour? All those against? And any abstentions? Okay, that's carried, thank you. So financial matters and council finances 2024-25. Quick.
Yeah, I won't bore you too much with these because I know we've been talking about the end of the year figures for quite a while. I suppose there's only a few things I will say. So this isn't these aren't the figures that will go to the AGAR. There's still a few things I've got to do. For example, you will note that in other income at 1095 on the document HI that we only had 10.8% of what we should have got of that particular income line. The reason that happened was because we were owed money by the trust for the reimbursement of the insurance they pay. We didn't actually get that until this financial year, into April this year. So I've got to kind of move the money back into last year's accounts. So there's a few sort of things like that where we've got rent that we need for next year, last year. So there's various moving money to move about, but. This was a situation that we would have been in basically on the 31st of March 2025. I don't think there's anything there that the councils are not aware of. Document 8.2 essentially includes a lot of the same figures in the current year. I've basically included it so you're aware of what the budget is for this year. So you're looking on the right hand side where it says next year agreed budget. That's the agreed budget. So we've got agreed income of £470,245, of which the precept is £447,000. £447,780, and the projected expenditure for the year, it's on the last page, is £406,998. So we're anticipating a surplus budget of about £64,000. So just bear that in mind. The reason we need that extra money is because we haven't got it, we didn't have enough money in general reserve. So we should be in a better position, assuming that we don't have any more horrible requests on money from our expenditure. So yeah, that's where we are with that. And then document H3 is, I can't close off last year's accounts until we, basically Councillor Collins' donation to River Home Connections comes out of last year's money, so I can't close off last year's until I can factor that back. So I'm just working off a spreadsheet for the first month of this year. I don't think there's an awful lot of comments to say in terms of H3 and what we've spent and received this year. The only point I would make is we did receive the £6,635.66 from the Civic to pay for their insurance for last year, so that will be factored into last year's account. So that was a positive development. Otherwise, everything went okay in April. Kirklees paid the 50% of the precept on the 1st of May, so you know, everything's gone okay in terms of that. So that's basically the report as things stand.
Thanks, Rich. And schedule of payments, do you want to carry on?
Yeah, so the first one is just a note. That's the schedule of payments for April. So these have already been paid anyway. I don't think there's an awful lot to comment about that. And then for the current month, the ones you're voting on, basically the ones in yellow. The others are either regular payments or myself and the clerk can approve them. So you're basically approving the aluminium plaque for the COVID memorial, the shop front design code, the community grants leaflets from Enterprise Prints, the sponsorship of Huddersfield Hub, and the grant to River Home Connections. So if you could take if you could approve those, please, it would be.
We have a nominator for yours, please, in a second. Councillor Ramsden, Councillor Lyles, and all those in favour of those payments?
Thank you very much.
Matters reserved for full council. The annual day of declaration of pecuniary interest. So I think that you've all been given an updated paper copy. Is there a date by when you need these returning, Jen?
If they can be returned in the next couple of weeks, because what I'd like to do is include it in the end of June agenda, you know, so that they've all been received. And just to say that I'm putting down here that it's an action for me to also email out the electronic copy with the new logo on, if people would prefer to do that.
Okay. Councillor Lyles?
Jen, can I ask that you send the training slides out about declarations of interest and pecuniary interest to back up the form?
Yeah, will do.
Chair, I know it's more work, but is it possible to send the existing ones to people? Because I can never remember what they were.
They're all on the website.
Oh, are they?
Yes.
I thought they got redacted from the website.
Only we only take out very personal details.
Ah, right. Okay, thank you. Take that back.
When I email out the fresh copy, I will also email people's existing copy as well. Okay, so I will do that for you.
And arrangements for written dispensations?
Chair, you've got a hand up.
Oh, sorry.
I just want to check with the clerk, because you were going to check with YRCA about definition of pecuniary interest.
Oh, yeah, I see. Sorry, I'm in two different silos at the moment, so you want that guidance before you fill in.
Well, it
the
makes
form.
sense.
I would like to know
It absolutely does. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yes, okay, so I'm going to suggest then that you defer this until you have your guidance. Yeah. Is that all right?
Chair, you've got another.
Oh, sorry.
Can I just say that it seems to me that we can we can declare what we have a commitment to, an interest in, or whatever, and then we can ask for a dispensation for the ones where we feel we have no pecuniary benefit and no more benefit than anybody else in the community. And so we can, you know, I think in the interest of transparency, we let people know what we have an interest in, but then we ask for a dispensation so that we would be able to join in the discussion and hopefully vote as well.
That's coming under the next agenda item.
Yeah, so.
It's not part of this, we're coming up to it.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else got any comments? No? So arrangement for written dispensations then.
So, an action from full council on the 24th of March was to secure written dispensations from councillors appointed as HVPC representatives to organisations at the annual council meeting on the 19th of May. And that will follow. Where members have an ongoing pecuniary or other interest in an item that's likely to feature in a substantial number of meetings, then it is possible to complete a written dispensation to cover a period of time. In the past, the dispensation form that went out with papers has been used for that purpose, and the matter of written dispensations is covered in Standing Order 13. So one of the things to be considered, and this clearly ties in with what Councillor Holmes was just saying, is the arrangements for receipt and granting of written dispensations for pecuniary and other interests for the council year. One thing I would want to say straight away is that I think the Standing Order 13 does allow a dispensation to be submitted to the clerk. As your clerk, any written dispensations that came to me, I would put in front of council to make the decision as to whether or not you want to accept it. So I do want to make that clear to all of you at this meeting. Thank you.
Councillor Rao?
Yeah, just with dispensations, in Kirklees dispensations are used. For example, if someone is asked to be on a particular board, and then that particular board, for example, gets money from Kirklees, then you can get a dispensation. You sign the dispensation, and that allows you to vote when money is concerned. So vote in the budget, yeah, which is sort of similar to what we're
It is. It's something which. Yeah, I mean, it's not something during my time in the council. It's not written dispensations hasn't been something we've made use of, but we can. It's covered in standing orders. It answers a lot of the kinds of queries that seem to be coming up, and it makes sense to. And I suppose in a way, myself as your clerk, I've only just cottoned on to these. But yes, I think we should make extensive use of them when they are needed and appropriate. That's what I'll say about them. So,
Thank you. Okay, the annual signing of register acknowledging the code of conduct.
If I stand this round, please, can everybody sign?
Okay.
Okay, referrals to the monitoring office.
just to say that the Kirklees monitoring officer has reported to me that there are no referrals currently under consideration, and that's just for council to note.
Moving on then, the establishment of a communication and engagement subcommittee.
Yeah, now when I was looking at the issue of committees, reading YRCA Advice Note 12, Full council doesn't have the power to appoint subcommittees, so I am going to suggest that the establishment of a communications and engagement subcommittee is deferred to finance and management. I've talked to the assistant clerk about this. Gemma agrees that that would be the best committee for the subcommittee to report to. Okay. So that I'm suggesting this is deferred to finance and management.
Sorry.
Yeah, I've not had time to tell you this, Sarah, since we last spoke about this.
It raises all sorts of queries for me because I was going to say the whole point, not the whole point. One of the outcomes from the removal of case was that the subcommittee would report directly to full council, not to another standing committee.
Then it has to be a standing committee, and that then goes against what you were looking at trying to establish.
Well, we can change standing orders if we want to, can't we?
I wouldn't change that standing order, given that YRCA, it's included in their advice note.
We don't have to do what they say, do we? If we decide
No, we never do.
We don't.
So.
I'm not being facetious here. We don't have to do what they say. We can decide for ourselves what we think is the best way to operate.
I think as your clerk, what I would say to that is standing orders come straight from legislation, and you have to have a really good reason not to fit in with, there are a few things that you've got leeway over, but standing orders as a whole, every year, NALC sends us out the model standing orders. There are some things that have some choices over, but generally, as a council, you are expected to just sort of go with the standing order, the model standing orders for the whole of England. Sorry.
You won't be surprised to but I'm extremely surprised that we've got to this stage to discover that this is what we need to do. It needs to go through an existing committee. We might as well not have bothered disbanding case.
Well, all I can say is that was a hole in my knowledge, and
and I'm not having a go, Jen.
Yeah.
But I come back to the idea that actually people, big organisations, other councils or whatever, you do change their standing orders if it serves the purposes for which their council thinks they best serve. So the idea of having a communications engagement subcommittee that reported direct to full council, was mandated by full council, was that it would be a quicker, more direct. So now what we're doing here then is sticking back in another layer of administration, I think, by the sound of things.
Councillor Conlon.
Could this be overcome if it were called the communications working group rather than subcommittee? That way it could report directly to full council, could it not?
It could be, but working groups are generally task oriented, and this is, you intend to put this subcommittee together for the longer term.
So you can't say we're having a working group which is tasked with communicating and engaging with the community.
It would be easier to change the remit of a working group than to change a standing order.
Yeah. At the end of the day, I'm here to give you advice.
Yeah.
I'm not a decision maker.
Yeah.
So you.
I'm just trying to find a way through where we're not flying in the face of legislation, but we're achieving a status for this group that is not being a sub committee.
Yeah.
Can I just ask why it's a problem that you just go to finance? Like, there's enough Labour councillors for you to go through what you want anyway. I don't really understand what your issue is.
Just because it's putting in another layer of bureaucracy, whereas we're going direct and straight out and straight in.
You can just
with legal toil.
No, what
We
I'm
might as
saying
well
though
have
is,
kept
I don't
it.
think communications has anything to do with
No,
the
but
Labour
what-
Party,
what-
and I think you should withdraw that remark.
Oh dear, we started arguing again.
So basically, all you're going to do is come to finance, whichever committee or whichever committee it goes under, and say, can you just approve these? And we just go yes. I don't see why we'd be arguing over it, sir. I just don't understand that.
Because it would have just been the damn sight easier if it goes straight to full council. And you could have full council very specifically saying, I want you to work on this, I want you to look at that. Hence me having put together, on behalf of the committee, a whole host of recommendations.
What are your views, Chris? Because you were very involved with it.
Well, I think like Sarah, it's a bit of a surprise that, and it feels like what we voted for was that it would be a subcommittee. And then, so what we voted on when we did vote on this, whenever we did at full council, we're now being told that we were voting on something that is not legal. So, do we have to re-vote the whole thing? I don't know.
Councillor Miller?
Could Jen clarify that it's not legal? Are we assuming, because it's in the model standing orders, that we assume that that is based on a legal requirement?
I mean, yeah, from my point of view, that would be helpful, I think, to say, can we get some clarification about whether if this is what we've decided to do, i.e. a subcommittee reporting direct to full council and being mandated by full council is okay. If it's not, well, we'll have to go with the flow, won't we?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I will look into it and if necessary ask for advice about that. Yeah.
thank you. Next, publication on the Holme Valley Parish Council website of direct contact details for individual councils. Councillor Ross.
As the councillor name checked in this particular issue, I just name my colours and asked and saying, when considering this matter, as the clerk has put, 6 points, I think the arguments at 3, 4, 5 and 6 are prevalent for me, and I would propose no change.
I'd second.
Councillor Wiley. Well, can I ask for a vote then? All those in favour?
In favour of what?
I'm in favour of not putting the details on the website.
You don't want me turning up at your house, do you? There you go then, that's the answer.
Probably significantly more.
I don't believe there was anybody against. Okay.
So can we just come back to the establishment of the, whatever it is, can we progress getting that group together, whether they're called a subcommittee or a working group? It just seems that it would be sensible to ask people who would like to be involved if we can do that at this stage.
What's the group for? Sorry. The communications.
Yeah.
Communications and engagement, something.
So what's the purpose of that?
We organise how we communicate out to trust the website, all the public facing stuff that we need to do to make people aware of what goes on with the council.
It's very important because we have quite low awareness of the council and we're constantly seeking to make more people know.
I can send you the communications and engagement strategy and policy if you like. Yeah. And if you have a look at the case handover document, there's a whole load of stuff in there that's the gap, sort of suggestions, carryovers from what we were doing, etc. So I can send you those.
When you became a parish council, did you know what the parish council were up to?
Yeah.
It's that.
Councillor Dixon.
That's a good question.
He only knew from the blue side. Clarifying it. He only knew our side of the story, not yours.
Can we please respect the chair and speak with them when the chair allows us to do? People going back and forth and it's just...
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so we've got to vote on that, or are we waiting for Jen to come back and clarify the position? before we decide how to take it.
Can I propose they go ahead, call the working group until it's clarified and that we appoint
Yeah.
people to it.
Okay. All those in favour? Okay.
So are you wanting to recruit people into this working group then?
Yeah, I think it'd be a good idea just to ask people to let you or Gemma know that they'd like to be part of this group. I mean, we can do it now if you want. Up to 13 members.
If people, I mean, there's nothing to stop people coming in at other times, but it would be useful to me to get a date set because I'm going on holiday on Thursday.
Alright then, can anybody who's interested in being part of the Communication and Engagement Working Party raise their hands?
And the people who are not here, of course.
Yeah.
Jenny. Right, so far I've got Sarah, Lawrence, Pat, Glenn and Jenny. Anyone else that I've missed there? Okay.
Okay, then we'll work for the rest of the people who are not at the meeting to contact you directly if they want to be part of that.
Yeah.
And you can let us know.
I will circulate some dates for those meetings tomorrow.
Excellent. Okay, councillor training evaluations received. An evaluation from councillor Collins.
And from Councillor Whitelaw
Oh,
as
yeah,
well.
councillor Whitelaw. Is there anything anybody wishes to say, or can we just know those? So review of the lease held by Holme First Civic Hall Community Trust.
So just to repeat what's in the narrative, the working group used the advice from the VAT Specialist Parkinson Partnership to determine a direction of travel with regards to reviewing the lease held by Holme First Civic Hall Community Trust. The proposals set out in the series of motions below reflect that direction of travel, and if approved by the council will lead to the drawing of the release and memorandum of understanding, and it is hoped to have a completed lease prepared for approval at the council meeting on Monday the 8th of September. A significant element of any new lease will be that it is a non-business lease, meaning that the council makes no charges to the trust and will take on the commissioning of works under the 10-year programme. I know that's been discussed in the past. The council will be able to reclaim VAT on all such works commissioned. I don't know if there's anyone in the working group who wants to report further on this, but I know there's 4 different motions here, but this is all about enabling the lease to be drawn up and for us to move forward on this issue.
Can I move to approve this?
Councillor Ramsby.
Only to say we've spent quite a long time and sought very valuable advice to what we thought was quite an easy decision to start. And actually it's far more complex than we anticipated. And I think the clerk has to be commended on finding the sources of solid advice. And I think we go as the clerk has recommended.
And just to say that third motion, to consider the recommendation from the working group to include in principle in the lease a running cost grant to be given annually to cover utilities and energy costs, minor repairs and cleaning costs. As you can see, that is not yet stipulating an amount, and that's because work is to be carried out on behalf of the council to understand the trust finances better, including what annual running costs are and what level of reserves the trust should be building up to ensure sustainability. A figure can be settled upon once that work is complete. For guidance only, the working group estimates that the running cost figure could be in the region of £25,000.
Can I ask a question? Where it says a significant element of any new lease will be that it is a non-business lease, meaning that the council makes no charges to the trust. We haven't made any charges to the trust, have we?
They used to pay the insurance in lieu of lease, that's where it comes
Yes.
from, and we're paying that now.
Right.
Is that right? That's
So-
right. Yeah.
So that's the only change. It's not like we've been doing all sorts of things and now we've got to stop that.
Yeah. It's a difficult one because it's not stepping on anybody's toes, but at the same time, like trying to come. It's a partnership thing, really. And we as a parish own this building, and it's like in a fashion, a bit like a stone round the council's neck. But we need to, from a financial point of view, it's a forever like I suppose if you bought a Victorian house with loads of damp, you'd have to sort it out. We have to get our own house in order. And I think that really we need to do that by trying to encourage everybody to use the building as much as possible. My friend actually got married here. It was successful, but she didn't get married here. And it was a lovely event. But do you know what I mean? You want to bring that back, so hopefully that won't anyone else.
So if you want a really nice wedding but you don't want to stay married,
You just want the dress. You just want the dress. This is the event. Do you know what I'm saying? So, but she got married here, and you know they had their and you want that back, don't you? In the community, you want to bring those people back.
Okay.
Really.
Thank you, Councillor. Do we need to vote on each one of these individually, or can we just vote as a whole?
You can vote on the first three all together if that's what you want to do.
I suppose that. Yeah.
Opposed, seconder? Yeah. All those in favour? Okay.
That's renewing the vows, isn't it? That's £5 Donald?
So, the minutes was rather than new actions.
If anyone wants to suggest anything, I'll put that on there in case.
Okay. Okay, thank you. The purchase and use of a parish flag. Back on government advice. Does anybody wish to talk us through this, or?
Oh, I don't have to.
There's no names on here, so
I
yes.
know. I just thought of it because when you look at certain towns and certain cities, they do have their own flag, if you know, on top of their building or on the flagpole outside the town halls. But yeah, so I just thought of it as a nice idea because Dewsbury, up the road, they got theirs flying about. So I thought, might as well have it up there with the, I'm not opposed to the replacement of the Union flag because it's a bit tatty enough. And I did all my research and homework, looked at all different prices. There was one which was costing too much money, which was like, how no? So I found the cheapest, and it's the company's in Knaresborough, which in contents they produced the gold standard for the Queen Elizabeth II's funeral on the coffin. So,
I object not because I like the idea, but it's home first only, and any flag we fly should represent the whole valley.
Councillor Bailey?
Can I suggest that this is referred to the new communications working group or whatever, because I think it should fit with the overall sort of strategy that we decide to take forward. There is a strategy in place already that we'll be working on that, and I think it becomes part of that in terms of our communication with the community, our profile and so on.
So branding and
Yeah.
Okay. All those in favour of moving it to the communication working group?
People.
Okay. All those against? No abstentions. Okay, thank you. Pay award for a member of the clerk team.
I move to approve.
Okay.
Just And congratulations to Rich.
We formally congratulate Rich in the minutes as well, please. Okay. Have we approved that? Yes. I know we clapped, but we approved.
Yeah, applaud and then say no.
Case committee handover. Anything to report from the handover document?
Well, I guess the big question is how we decide to, or what we decide to prioritise. I mean, it seems to me that all of the suggestions, ideas, things carried forward from case, both on the communication side and the climate action side of things, fit quite neatly with the review of the council that is going on. Because we're at a point, I mean, as I said in the document, we're halfway through our term now, so it seems to me a very good point at which we should be saying, are we going in the direction that we want to? Are there things that we would like to push up the agenda in terms of our priorities as a whole council? And how do they fit with the climate action and the community engagement sides of things? So I would suggest that we have a look. We have a look at those, but allow that review group to make some suggestions to full council about priorities.
Okay.
And that's a standing group at the moment. But I mean, at least I think anybody who wants to join in on this at this stage, is more than welcome. And many hands make light work and all of that. And I can share the most recent notes from that group. And perhaps after I've had Jen and I are having a meeting about where we got to with that. So maybe after we've done that, we'll send our outcomes or what we decide is the best way forward from that point on. Does that make sense?
It does. Thank you, Councillor.
Okay. But I really would urge people to have a look at that document. Not only because it actually took me quite a long time to do it, but it's pretty important, isn't it, that we have a clear idea of where we're going and how we're going to achieve it.
Okay, Councillor Morgan, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I was just going to say that within service provision, I'd just like the climate action thing to be carried on in terms of actions that we decide in service provision. So it's not lost, and it isn't an add-on, it isn't something in brackets at the end, it's something with it.
And the same applies to finance and management, I think, in terms of suggestions of ways of working with grants and procurement and the things that we might like to move forward differently.
Thank you. We don't need to vote on anything there. Reports from Kirklees Ward Councils. Have the Ward Councils got anything? Councillor O'Reilly?
I got some information from the most recent cabinet meeting, which was at the beginning of May. So just 2 or 3 agenda items that were covered. Firstly, there was the Healthy Child Programme, public health initiative aimed at improving health and well-being for children aged 0 to 19 and then up to 25 for SEND young people. The contract itself, 8.1 million per annum for the first 5 years, so a significant amount of money. And the Healthy Child Programme is so wide, it covers as many things as you can think of in terms of staying well and staying healthy. So that was one. Number 2 is highways.
Can I confirm that we're okay to standing orders and carry on passing on? Yeah. All those in favour?
I'm not going to go. Highways, 2-year capital plan delivery programme for highways, and this includes funding from the Department for Transport and also from WICA as well. So 20.8 million over the next 12 months and an additional 16.4 million in 26-27. And it includes, again, it's extremely broad, investing in, for example, active travel, sustainable methods of transport, network upgrades, etc., etc. With all of these, there's loads more information that's open to the public in a lot more detail than this. Number 3, the local electric vehicle infrastructure fund for electric vehicles, charging points in Kirklees. The total value of the capital grant from WICA was around 2.5 million, but there are also private providers as well, so the total is likely to be something like 3.8 million. 2 phases. Procurement will be managed by WICA. The EV charging is a key component within the decarbonisation of the transport sector, leading to improvements in air quality and public health. So these were things that were all agreed. And just finally, and this wasn't in the cabinet, but it's something that's happened just recently, is the official opening of the modernised Dementia Day care facilities at Noble Park House in Murfield, which was opened by the Mayor of Kirklees, Mushley and Dad. The Noble Park House has been modernised and can now better cater for the needs of the adults living with dementia, and will provide much needed respite for the carers as well. So there's loads more information if you want to go on the website, but that's just a touch of that.
Within Holme, the parks improvement work to Northern Road Rec should be happening in the coming weeks, finally. We've got some major works on Gin Lane at Holme. It's not New Station Road, but Highway Safety have determined that Gin Lane needs a rather large programme of works to make the junction safer. We've had a rejig of the layout and arrangements at the tip over at Meltham. So following the reduction in days from 7 to 5, it was causing major problems on the first day of opening, which was the Wednesday. So pretty much every Wednesday. So from being an occasional issue, it was becoming a weekly issue, and that impacts upon, well, not just people going to the tip, but there's lots of other businesses and people who live on there. So together with sewage and waste, there's been some changes made to the internal layout. The feedback from users has been pretty positive. It's cut the queues for sure. We've just got to see how it beds in. There's a few other changes that were suggested as well. And then the fourth bit is the council's cutting the community teams. So quite a lot of those folk are, the roles are going. Quite a few of them will end up being redeployed or being made redundant. And a major piece of their work is supporting the schools hubs. So we're looking at how we can keep that work going, even though the roles are being cut. It's just another tricky bit in terms of providing support on a local basis in the few staff that we've got are being cut again.
Councillor Greaves, can I ask you, how many local community staff are there, like staff that are allocated to dedicated areas? So like within the Hill Valley and Onley, how many staff is that likely to be?
For the community hub coordinators, they're allocated under, if you like, the school pyramids. So we're losing the Holme one and the Home Firth one, and the Denby Dale one, and there'll be a role retained in Cole Valley to cover the whole of that geography. So that's a similar pattern across Kirklees. So you're probably going from I think maybe five roles down to one. But it's that tricky bit of wherever it gets embedded, that tends to be where they'll end up doing the majority of the work. So everything's going over towards Coleman, with the main centre for the rural being Slafford.
Thank you, Councillor Allen, Councillor Greaves, for those updates. Correspondence with River Home Connections. Councillor Holme, do you want to report?
Well, it was just the remainder of the chairman's allowances. The first half went to the food bank at Christmas. And I've spent 70 quid on something, I have no idea what. So there's a
You're just not going to declare that we went out for tea, are you?
On dinners, yeah, dinners.
Dinners, food. Oh, please did food.
Home Valley Lions was one.
All right.
And Meltham was
right. A couple of dinners, and then the remainder, this was what left of the £1,000 maximum the chairs as spent as can be, and I decided they should go to the River Home Connection.
Thank you, Councillor Connie. So items for publicity.
Just a quick rundown from me of things that are coming up, but by all means throw things at me if you've got any suggestions. We've arranged with Scots Buses to do free buses on the Arts Festival weekend this Saturday again, so I'm going to be putting that out this week. We will be attending the Arts Festival weekend as well. If anybody's interested in coming down and doing some kind of engagement work, we just did some at the Folk Festival the other weekend. So Councillor Bailey and Councillor Blacker did a little section at the park, and it was a beautiful day, and we had some good chats, I think, with the community. So we'll do another one of those for the Arts Festival weekend. We've got a table booked at Holme Show as well, as the main sponsor of the programme. We've got sort of logos on that and a piece inside, and a presence there as well. We've just started with the big community celebration, which, as you know, is booked for the 8th of November, so I've just started to go out to recruit stall holders for that. You might have seen some save the date information that's gone out on social media. If you see stuff like that, if you could share it, that really helps with our reach. So if you're using your own profiles for that, that's really helpful. We've also got some work that we're doing on the design code. We're probably going to do a little bit of news items around that as well. Once we get around to putting the distribution list together, which is a work in progress, and thank you to Councillor Ransby, who's helping with that one. So I think that's it from me at the moment, but quite a lot going on, obviously.
Thank you, John. Thank you.